Uncensored, no holds barred talk. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This is Global Reality Radio Network.
Edition of the Global Reality right here on the Global Reality Radio Network. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. Thanks so much for being with us here tonight for another late night Moonbat edition of the broadcast. It is Wednesday, December 21st, 2011 into Thursday, December the 22nd, 2011, and the start of the winter solstice. So happy winter solstice to everybody out there. And, yeah, so I guess a year from now, depending on how you look at it, we'll either be all in FEMA camps or fourth dimensional light beings or enslaved by the Anunnaki or dead from the apocalypse. Who knows, I guess. So, yeah, we got, you got a year. Live it up. Well, you know. If you ever thought about taking up a coke habit, now would be the time. I'm joking, of course. Please don't go out and get on coke. I don't think the world's going to end. But you know, it definitely is now starting to. Well, it's just I don't know. I'm just amazed at the things that are happening. But anyway. Just amazing to me also that, like I said on the last show, we had got the film done on November 22nd. And then the DVDs and Blu-rays arrived today in my hand on the first day of winter solstice, exactly 1 year from the end of the Mayan long count calendar. So I think that's a really good sign of things to come. But anyway, yeah, that's the good news. There you go. See, right, DVDs and Blu-rays are now here. Woot, woot, woot. I'm going to do my best to get some of those mailed out this week. I can't make any promises, though, because I'm flat broke, to be honest with you. I tried to do a show the other night, and I did about 40 minutes, and I just got real burnout. I worked hard this year, and I've had a lot of stuff with personal stuff, family members dying, all this stuff. And if you've never gone through that, it's just not one of those things you can describe to people, because a lot of things, a lot of things are changing. A lot of things, life is very different after something like this happens. I didn't really expect it to be that way, going like cleaning out my grandparents' house. And I mean, I didn't go do that, but my brother and my sister and family did. And, but getting, a big box of pictures of everything of my whole life up until age 16, pictures of them and stuff that it was mine and my grandparents had just kept. And, because my uncle stayed with my grandmother after my grandfather died. And then, my uncle, my dad died, and she's old and can't get around without somebody to help her. So, they sold the old homestead out there in East Texas and, stuff like that. So it's been kind of one of those things. It's been kind of one of those years. But I was just burnt, man. It gets towards the end of the year like this, and you've already been doing stuff, and it's just, you just need a break sometimes and to get out of the headspace of this. Because, I mean, I'm a fucking maniac, dude. I mean, I'm already... I'm already in here fucking working on the outline, working out the map of and the logistics of the next film. I mean, I just feel like there's not any time to waste. But yeah, like I said, I'm going to do my best to get out as many of those as I can out this week. I'd love to get them all out to you this week, folks. But it's going to cost me about, at least $200 to ship out all the DVDs, $150-$200, something like that for my calculations. And I had to spend everything I had this week to pay the stream bill to keep our network afloat. That's kind of the conundrum there. But as soon as I have the cash to get all these mailed out, I will get them out to you. But anyway, if anybody would like to buy copies now that they're here, that we can ensure that we can get those out a lot quicker if we sell a few. Yeah, I mean if 4 or 5 people just buy DVDs, since we had slow sales on the DVDs. I thought that maybe because they weren't physically here yet. Now, as soon as they were physically here today, Man Hydra, our webmaster, he was our first customer today. I think only customer. Well, I think we sold 1 DVD as well besides that. But so we had 2 today. But that was the first couple we'd had in a few weeks. I'm starting to get worried. But anyway, Man Hydra, thank you so much for you got yours, and John Doe. But anyway, not to play favorites or anything, but I'm going to do my best to get out certain people's stuff this week, get out as many as I can. And it's the holidays, and I don't even have money to buy gifts for my family, and they've already gotten me stuff, and I'm obligated to get them stuff, and I'm just trying to figure out what the fuck I'm going to do there. So yeah, I need your help. Please go to theglobalreality.com, go there under the documentaries tab, and get yourself a Blu-ray or DVD. They're here. They're in my hand right now. And I've still got to put together the data discs, and I'm going to because all those I'm doing, I didn't have the money I already went over my budget paying for the Blu-rays and the DVDs. And there just wasn't any left to have the data DVDs manufactured, which would have made my life a lot easier. But so what I've got to do is I've got to go through and make each one of these data discs, burn them off by hand. But I'm totally excited. It was just amazing to get the discs and have them in front of me and look at them. And I've tested them out and watch. And oh man, the Blu-ray just looks fucking incredible. I mean, that's what I call the director's cut right there. I mean, if you want to see it the way I intended it to be seen. The Blu-ray, oh God, it looks smoking. I mean, I guess when you're watching normal resolution DVDs, you don't really notice a difference. But man, once you see something in high def, in 1080, wow, dude, it's just no turning back. But I was really blown away at how much of a jump there was in the quality of the Blu-ray, and had that on today. But yeah, they're here, they're in hand, and you can get them now. TheGlobalReality.com underneath the documentary tab. There under the Secret Right Volume 2, where it says pay-per-view thing. You can scroll down underneath that, and there's, I think people had a lot of, I think maybe we need to put that in a different space, though. I mean, Hunter, if you're listening, I've had a lot of people complaining about not being able to find where you buy the DVDs at. Maybe that's a problem. I don't know, but maybe to make it a little bit more conspicuous for them, you can lead a horse to water. Anyway, but yeah, as I was saying, I've been putting so much energy into getting this film done so I could be done with it and move on to the next thing. And, I just feel, I still feel like I still have stress of things I have to deal with. I mean, I got to get this movie out. I got to promote it. I got to figure out some way to promote it. I don't know how to do that. You got to figure out some way to get some advertising going or something. I figure out some way to get some interviews going. All that stuff requires money. Sending DVDs out to places, like to get reviewed, to maybe get them into, get it out there into more people's hands. That costs money for me to have to send promo copies to people. So my point is that even when you're making a film, man, there's your budget has to extend to all those levels. And it's just it sucks when the budgets all run into one. There's not separate budgets. I wish I had a budget for the network and and the expenses and all that, and one for the films too. But unfortunately, it's like it always boils down to I have to make one decision that will affect one other area of what I'm doing. You know, like this week. You know, do you want to keep the stream on so you can tell people that DVDs and Blu-rays are actually here so they can buy them, or do you want to not be able to do that and just be sitting on Blu-rays and DVDs, but not having a stream up because you spent that money to send out the Blu-rays and pay for postage and all that stuff? Oh man, see that kind of that's where the stress comes in, and that's where the burn factor comes in, and that's where, you know, just the idea of even getting up here and doing a radio show starts to make you sick. You understand? That's the whole thing, because you know, this is always so much easier when we have help and people do support us, and man, I mean those few and far between times are those times where we do have that kind of stuff. Man, you'll notice the shows are better, the quality of everything's better because then my energy is not having to go towards, you know, decisions like I just described that I shouldn't, in my opinion, have to be making after almost 5 years of being on the air, you know? Especially when I'm not trying to sell you dick pills and Jew gold or anything of that nature. And again, you know, I know how many people listen to this show. I know I see the stream numbers in that. I know how many people don't donate to, and that's really a shame. But that's, you know, I guess that's the way it is. But anyway, yeah, get your DVD and Blu-ray now of the new film. I can't wait for you guys to see it. It's I had it on again tonight, and I hadn't watched it in a couple of weeks. And you know, because when you're making a film, you know, by the time you're done with it, the last thing you want to fucking watch is what you just made. Yeah, which sucks because, you know, everybody that you come across everybody wants to see it. Everybody that comes over, hey, can we watch your film? Fuck, well, you should have been here the 6 other times we watched it today. But no, I mean, I tested out the Blu-ray tonight, put it in, and had it on, and I was kind of sitting there, not really paying attention to it, and had it on, and there was something that came on that I guess I've not really forgotten that I'd done, but just, you know, just one of those things where you hear it and catch it, and it made me laugh, you know. Some of the shit I've got Alex Jones in there and his antics, and they're just, oh man, you can't help but laugh. I don't give a damn who you are, how hardened you are. There's going to be some parts in this film, especially on the Alex Jones part, you are going to fucking piss yourself laughing. I don't give a damn how much of a cynic you are or anything else. You are, you can't help but laugh, man. Oh, the guy's a psyop maniac. My website where this broadcast originates from, www.theglobalreality.com. It's theglobalreality.com. And we have a chip and banner with the donate button up there. If you want to use the donate button, hey, if you want to make a contribution to or make a Christmas gift, if anybody wants to send a gift, you know, I to be honest with you folks, this will be the first year. I wouldn't say it hasn't been the only year. It's happened to me. It's been the first year in probably about 10 years. This has been the case, or a long time. But this will be the first year I think that I won't be spending my Christmas with any family. And you know, I'm not married. I don't have kids. I don't have a wife. I don't have that kind of thing. I don't have people to, you know, get things for me around the holidays. And you know, I got to be honest with you. You know, it kind of sucks. You know, and I'm going to be by myself on Christmas this year. For the first time in a long time, I guess, you know, with the death of my dad, just really changes everything. More than anything else. But my brother got to have his daughter on Christmas last year. And we at the time didn't know that was going to be the last Christmas we have with my dad. I got a picture I took of him, and he looked great, you know. Thought it was all good and all done, but he wasn't letting on as he knew it was close to the end, but he wasn't letting on to anybody, you know. But my brother didn't get to have his daughter on Christmas this year, so we had our Christmas with the family on Sunday, but and my sister and her boyfriend are going out of town to his parents. So yeah, old Josh is going to be flying solo this year for Christmas. It's kind of a strange, weird thing to me. So I guess it'll, I don't know. It's just one of those weird things where I know what Christmas is and I know all the bullshit of it and blah, blah, blah. And I've done shows on Christmas Day about it back when I was on Oracle. I did a show on Christmas Day, but regardless of all that, of the info aspect of it, because we can talk about that shit all day. And yes, I understand all that. Yes, I know what's true, but I'm talking about those moments, where you take one day out of the year and one day out of the year, all the bullshit goes out the window and, you interact with your family. So it's just kind of odd for me to not have that on that day. But I don't know. It's just strange, I guess. That's the thing is, folks, with me, I just get up here and, I give it to you. I just give it to you straight. No, whether I'm talking about myself or the information or everything else. And, that's not always what people like, but with me, that's what you're always going to get. I'm just going to get up here and tell you how I honestly feel. I hadn't wanted to do any of these radio shows or get up here and talk about any of this news or any of this crap at all this week. And I think that's probably why. I think that's probably why I was, just frustrated the other night. Look, I'm not asking for notoriety or anybody or the pat on the back or anything else like that at all. That's not what I'm in this for. And frankly, that's not what this is about. But as I said, regardless of that, regardless of the information, I'm still a person. I'm still a human being. I still have feelings. I have emotions. And part of the fact that I don't sugarcoat any of the shit that I talk about and don't sugarcoat who I am or my personality or anything with you on air, sometimes, I get up here and my emotions are running high, and I get up here and I just can't even fucking bring myself to do a show and bail like I did the other night. And so that's the thing is, I don't care about the pat on the back or any of that stuff or the accolades. It's not about that. But at the same time, sometimes you do this and you just feel completely unappreciated by anybody. Look, no matter how much you do, and when you work yourself quadruple what you've been working yourself, you still wind up back at square one where you began. And that's kind of the whole thing of doing this kind of work. That's what you're just constantly ending up back at square one. Even if you're doing some good, even if you're and I believe we have done some good here. Just for the sheer mass amounts of emails and stuff like that we get. But yeah, I just want you to know that I can't, if I'm feeling a certain way, I can't just get up here and hide it. I know a lot of people are good at that. Their dog could have just got ran over, 2 seconds before they go on air. And they'll be, oh, God, my fucking dog just got run over. Oh, my God. Oh, yeah, and we're on air. Hey, how you doing? 96.3. Hey, KO's out. Blah, 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 blah. All right. Yeah, yeah, all right. They're just going to actor mode. And I think that's probably always been my problem is that I can't do that. I can't just fake it. I can't just feign, upbeat cheeriness and, oh, Mr. Radio. Yeah, let's talk about the New World Order today. All right, here we go. I can't do that. I can't just fake it. But I mean, honestly, lately I've just been, I guess I'm just stressed about all this stuff. I want to get these DVDs out to everybody. I don't have the cash to do that. I got to buy some gifts for the family members. I don't have cash to do that. I don't know. Who cares? I guess I just should not even think about any of that stuff anymore, and just get up here and think of this every day as a job and get up here, but that's really hard to do. It really is. Well, number one, because if I start to view this as a job, then I'll start to hate it, and I won't want to do it anymore. That's the one thing. Not only that, but if you call something a job implies that you're getting paid to do it. I don't get paid to do this. I get by on the support of our listeners, and that's it. And I'm not going to stop. And the stuff that I'm planning for the next film, I mean, my goodness. I think I'm going to start like a chipping banner or something for that soon. Just go ahead and get that going, because I'd love to have just a nice budget to work with on that thing. Because I'm just finding more and more stuff on a lot of these ancient archaeological sites and the rock wall and stuff like that. Finding more and more information I didn't even know about. Like, I had no idea that they actually found the first excavation they did of the rock wall, they found monogrammed stones, triangular shaped monogram stones with symbols and letters in the middle of them, on the corners of some of the wall. I didn't know that. That's a pretty big slap in the face for all of the scientific community that says the rock wall is a natural formation. Wouldn't you think? But yeah, I mean, I can't wait to dig into that film and do some traveling around and going, looking around at stuff, talking to people and filming stuff. Because I mean, you'd be surprised, man, if when you go to some of these, these local yokels and small town type people. I mean, you go talk to some people, you'd be surprised, especially if you tell them you're doing a documentary or it's going to be on TV or something, and you've got a camera, you'll be surprised what people will tell you. And that's what I'm thinking for some of this stuff. I'm just going to put out ads and go talk to local yokels and see what I can find out, because you just never know. You never know who's going to want to talk to you. You never know what might change somebody's mind to talk about something they've been quiet about. Things of that nature. I really, with this film, are just trying to, I'm going to try to get some interest up in it. And because I want to head, my real dream, one of my biggest dreams and goals of doing this, people ask me all the time, like somebody asked me last week, if you could have anything for Christmas, what would it be? And my sister forgot to remind me that the one thing I said was, a vacation adventure. Yeah, that'd be great. Money was no object. Yeah. I'd love to go on some vacation adventure somewhere. But I that's really one of my big goals, is to actually have actually get a piece of property and conduct a dig, and get the archaeologists out there and get the equipment and everything to do it, and conduct a dig on a piece of property somewhere around the rock wall and excavate it and document the whole thing. And try to get some other information. Also, whatever this thing is, they found 150 miles from rock wall as well, near Milan, Texas. And the funny thing is that it's 150 miles exactly from the rock wall, and it's the same size. It's 20 miles in diameter, just like the rock wall. In 1909, the New York Times reported on this wall and said that it was actually denser and thicker than the Great Wall of China. And this is out in the middle of nowhere. Nobody really knows where this is. But I bet, I mean, it's out in the country, but I bet there's some local yokels around there, man, that know all kinds of stuff. So you just never know. And that's really what I want to do with the next film. And really start, getting into some real documentary type stuff where, it's shot with a camera. By the way, somebody also asked me if I have an Amazon wish list, and I do have an Amazon wish list. I don't know who was asked. Somebody sent me an email about that. I could drop that in the chat room if you want. I've got, because what you can do is you can go on there and you can purchase something off of my, if you want to send a gift to me or to the network, there you can go on here and you can buy some of this stuff on here, and it'll automatically send it to my address. You don't have to send it to anything; you just buy it. And I've got a lot of stuff on there for the that I want for the network or for what I'm doing, and there's some stuff on there I've got for the Rockwell. So most of this stuff just goofy shit. There are some stuff on there I need for filmmaking and cameras and duplicators and that kind of stuff and green screens. But then there's just, there's just my own goofy shit on there too. I had to tell my relatives to just ignore. Look, I'm not asking you to buy me the $1,200 Moog synth on my wish list. They're like, all this stuff's expensive. I'm like, you need to scroll and go look at the other stuff that's cheap. Because I mean, come on, a wish list is supposed to be a wish list, right? That's why they call it a wish list, right? You put shit on there you can't afford. I got to put something on there. Like you can just buy with pocket change. Give me a break. It's not got to be big shit. But anyway, I don't remember who it was. I'll drop that in the chat room at some point. Someone was sending me an email asking about that. Oh, let's see. Huh. I don't even know. I don't even remember what I covered the other night. I've got some stories, some news here. This is unbelievable. I don't know if I covered this the other night or not. Rare cuneiform inscription found in Malta. Now, the island of Malta, near Italy, is an interesting place because it's the home of the headquarters of the Sovereign Military Order of Malta, of course. You ever seen any of those James Bond flicks with that thing built into that island where where it opens up and the boat comes out of the fucking side hatch thing out into the water? That's the Knights of Malta headquarters. There's a giant, there are these things they call the, what do they call them? Cart ruts. That's what they call them, cart ruts. The Maltese cart ruts. And they're like these stone ruts that are carved into rock that go out into the water. They're almost like something you'd see on an aircraft carrier. For when a plane takes off and lands, like it has a groove and it like catches it. But it's, pretty indicative of the, the ancient aliens type stuff that we've seen. Well, this is unprecedented, and I mean, they found cuneiform script that goes back to the Mesopotamian era, yet they say that this script is only from the 13th century. No way. No way in hell. I'm not buying that for a second. And not only that, what tool do they use this? This is inscribed into agate. Italian archaeologists working in Malta have made a sensational discovery. An agate carved with cuneiform script dating back to the 2nd millennia BC, but whose votive nature can be traced to the city of Nippur in Mesopotamia. The finding took place during an excavation campaign conducted by an archaeological mission from the University of Rome and led by paleontology professor Albert Gazzella, in collaboration with the University of Foggia, represented by Giulia Reccia, in an agreement with the superintendents. I don't give a fuck about that. The agate is shaped like a crescent moon. It is It can be deducted from the inscription that a group of worshippers dedicated the precious stone to the moon god Sin, who was worshipped in the city of Nippur, or also known as Ninurta. Wasn't she the consort of Enki? In Mesopotamia. So, I mean, this is horseshit. This is way older than that. And number one, what are stones from Mesopotamia with cuneiform on them doing way over in on Malta? Something is weird about this, Jack, and there's just more and more of this strange, weird stuff coming out. Now they're saying they've discovered the origins of the rocks of Stonehenge, but it's even more of a mystery because they're over 100 miles away, and blah 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 blah. I thought, what does that change? I thought we knew that all along. But this discovery, of course, just opens up to another mystery, namely just how and why ancient cultures carved and transported the giant stones over such a great distance. Hasn't that always been the question of Stonehenge? Why are they trying to act like that's some new question? That's always been the question. But we know why, and we know how they did it, and they used, Kabbalistic magic. The ability to be able to change matter, control matter, using the spoken word, the voice. Anti-grav technologies, which also can be found in the from the annals of the High Magi's. So again, all these great archaeological discoveries, man. I think you guys are just prepared to see aliens at any time now, aren't you? I hope so, because, man, it just every day. This shit's just out of control. Here's another one. First true alien Earth may be found in 2012. Well, of course. Of course, right? They were going to find a real, true alien planet, a true alien Earth, complete with real, actual living life forms. Well, you got to bet your ass you would have to find that of course, in 2012. What else, right? It's just stuff. This stuff's just getting comical, and I think it's good. I think we all should maintain our sense of humor throughout this stuff, because you got to understand, folks. They want us to manifest negative. They want us to manifest bad. They want us to believe negative things will happen, and I just don't believe it is. There are only negative things that are going to happen on this planet are going to come from the same motherfuckers they always comes from. And that's these guys, these cocksuckers that are running the show. And that's that's the thing about these guys. The sad thing about these guys is that calling them a cocksucker is not even an insult to these guys. Go Gums Bush getting down at Yale in the tomb, jerking off in a fucking tomb. The Tubal Cain and Jobulon. Oh, Jobulon. Fucking Gums Bush. But anyway, it's not even an insult to guys. These guys really are cocksuckers. But that's, same old shit. Let's see what else we have here. A U.S. Scientific Advisory Board on Tuesday asked 2 scientific journals to leave out data from research studies on a lab-made version of bird flu that could spread more easily to humans, fearing it could be used as a potential weapon. They're cooking up the weapons to wipe us all out right now in labs. And they're talking about it in the news, just openly. Yeah, we're making this. Fuck the shit that just we're going to tell you just naturally occurs. And that's the thing. All these plagues, a lot of this stuff has been just man-made now. Anything that gets widespread is going to be coming from a man-made source. That's always traced back to that. The U.S. National Science Advisory Board for Biosecurity has asked the journals Nature and Science to publish redacted versions of their studies by two research groups that reportedly created forms of the H1N1 avian flu that could easily jump between ferrets, typically considered a sign that the virus could spread quickly among humans. Both journals, in separate statements, said they are working with the advisory board and taking the matter seriously, but chafed at the notion of scientific censorship. The bird flu virus is extremely deadly in people who are directly exposed to infected birds, but so far it has not mutated into a form that can easily pass from person to person. Well, they already have that. That's the thing. They were already creating that. But they love anything that's going to give them plausible deniability, folks, is what you need to be looking at as possible things that are going to break out. Pandemics and all that stuff are fucking wonderful for them. Plausible deniability. Problem is that that plausible deniability gets a lot shorter on things like these outbreaks, because inevitably what ends up happening is somebody gets some independent samples, starts running some tests, and starts figuring out, because that's the thing, these viruses and these types of they're all cataloged. You know what I mean? They're kept track of. People know where they're coming from. Most of the time, they have a genetic signature. So if you isolate the virus and you get it under a microscope, it's like a calling card. You can look at it and you can tell exactly what bioweapons lab it came from. So while I think that they will use this in small ways, I think the idea that they're going to launch a pandemic like a bird flu to wipe all of us out, I think that's overblown. Because there's too many loose ends with it. These guys want stuff that's clean. And by clean, I mean they want stuff that absolutely leaves no trace whatsoever in any way, shape, or form back to them, not directly. Now, you can speculate all day long, but no direct evidence that could ever tie these perpetrators to anything. That's why weather modification and so-called quote-unquote acts of God and this force multiplier technology of taking, existing storms or taking existing earthquakes or hurricanes or anything like that and multiplying it and making it worse when they know it's going to happen, that's a powerful thing, because how do you prove that? You see? Because we can have patent documents and we can have, all kinds of papers and essays and documentation on these programs till the cows come home, but most people won't believe they're using it. Most people won't believe. I bet if you asked most Americans, you would get a small amount of the Americans that would believe that Katrina was a modified weather event, but of course it was. So that's perfect. Acts of God are perfect. Earthquakes, asteroids, meteors, any of that. And those things should be considered suspect as well. I mean, they've got these rods of God and these things, these gravity bombs, like they dropped on the moon a couple of years ago, where they go up, they go in orbit, and it's a gravity bomb. They drop that motherfucker from orbit, and it comes and you can wipe out a city the size of Dallas and have no radioactive signature whatsoever. That's a game changer. That's a game changer. You can just turn the motherfucker into a crater and not have to worry about any radiation. Go right in there, set up your new shop. But those also can be easily blamed on space junk or, satellites or meteorites or asteroids or anything else. So that's when I look for them to use at some point. I look for them to probably drop one of those on a city at some point and say it was a meteor or an asteroid, because there's no radioactive signature that leaves a crater. How's anybody ever going to know? It's going to be streaking like a fucking fireball when it comes through the atmosphere anyway. You're not going to be able to tell if it's a meteor or a comet or one of our, what was that thing, the X-37B, something like that? People are just not going to know. And I think that's a big part of this is using things that they have to have things that are completely untraceable back to them. Did you guys, and this has happened several times, did you guys hear this more recent story this week about this UFO in Kansas? There, a bunch of people were freaking out because residents of Cowley County, Kansas, caused a sensation last week when they captured video of the military towing a concealed object on a flatbed truck down U.S. Highway 77. It wasn't long before a wave of speculation hit, claiming the object was a UFO. Depending on the angle from which you spotted it, its 30-foot wide mysterious craft appeared to be saucer-shaped. It was so large that the local law enforcement had to remove roadside signage so it could pass through, but it was covered in a tightly concealed tarp, making further examination impossible. However, as Gizmodo points out, the craft does not technically meet the definition of a UFO. For starters, even if it were an alien craft, the object was not flying, and more important, it's no longer unidentified. Local Sheriff Don Reed announced that the tarp was in fact covering a flying object, but one of decidedly earthly origins. More specifically, it was a drone aircraft manufactured by Northrop Grumman. Oh, isn't that nice? After Reed's disclosure, Northrop Grumman senior manager of public relations, Brooks McKinney, stepped forward to provide more details, telling Life's Little Mysteries that the UFO was an X-47B unmanned combat drone designed to operate from aircraft carriers. It was headed to Naval Air Station in Patuxent River, Maryland. Okay, so here's my question. How come it didn't fucking fly there? I mean, they cause a stir with this. How come they didn't just go through the local towns and say, hey, we're coming through here. We got a drone on here. It's not a UFO. So if anybody freaks out, says it's a UFO, they wanted people to see this and freak out and think it was a UFO. How come they didn't transport this thing at night where nobody could have seen it? They did this motherfucker in broad daylight. There's video clips here. You can see it. It's broad fucking daylight. They did it in the middle of the day when they were going to have maximum people around to see it. But again, if it's a drone and it actually is one of ours, how come they just didn't fly the motherfucker there? Well, let me read that to you. It says, we built it for the Navy. They were being tested at Edwards Air Force Base in California since March. One is on its way to Maryland and the other will remain in California. And the reason they weren't actually flying the high-tech aircraft was even simpler. It's difficult to fly an unmanned drone through commercial airspace, McKinney said. Oh, my God, lies. Lies. Fucking lies. See, that right there, folks, is an example of when you're informed how you can catch their bullshit. I have been studying the X-47B and the X-37B alike for over 10 years. Ladies and gentlemen, 10 years ago, this plane right here, the X-47B, was a goddamn tinfoil kookery moonbat conspiracy theory. I'm not lying to you. The idea of I remember seeing that when there's leaked photos and stuff of these that came out 10, 11, 12 years ago, back in the late 90s. And I used to tell people about this. They're unmanned drones. They're small. They look like stealth fighters almost, or stealth bombers almost. And they have particle beam weapons on them, and they have missiles and everything else. They call them hunter killers. Hunter killers. They can hunt individuals from air, and they have an admitted ceiling of over 40,000 feet. Now, commercial airliners fly at roughly 30,000 feet, correct? The X-47B, go to Google, type in the X-47B, go to look at Wikipedia or wherever else, look at the commonly, admitted specs of this thing. And I think what you're looking for is, what's the terminology they use? Ceiling, operational ceiling. The operational ceiling on an X-47B, I know this from heart, is about 40,000 feet at Millie. Now, it can probably go higher than that. Shit, they have the Gary Powers U-2 spy plane that Gary Powers flew during the 1960s that Oswald leaked information about to Russia that they shot down so they would fuck up the peace summit with Khrushchev. They wanted that to fail so that you could get a war, and that's how they had Oswald do that. But, that fucker was flying higher than that, I think, back then. They still use those sometimes for some things. They still had advanced stuff, but my point is, this is cognitive dissonance, folks. They're trying to get the meme of alien saucers in people's heads, but also simultaneously, I think what they've been trying to do for a long time is I think that's why they started making. Think about it. This is the perfect cover. Now, if you're using back-engineered extraterrestrial technology, right? The best thing for you to do is to make it identical as you can to what you're back engineering, but make it operable for the current species using it, in this case, humans. Because, see, since that has been going on, and we know that that's been going on at least since the late 1940s. I mean, it's no coincidence that right after World War II, right after Roswell, we started to see the first type of these planes being made, the Flying Wings and the SR-71 Blackbirds and a whole slew of these space-age-looking planes that first started taking shape in the 1950s, right after we allegedly started back engineering alien technology in the United States. Now, that is always, to me, been the perfect cover. Because if you create something that looks identical to these things that you've captured or, recovered crash craft or something like that, and you have a precedent set for somebody coming or visiting from somewhere in craft that look like this, well, that's a perfect thing. That's what you would want to make your spy planes and everything out of. That way, if somebody sees one flying around somewhere it shouldn't be, they say, oh, my God, I saw a UFO. Look, it's a UFO. When really that's, but see, that also, what that does is too, I think, is that also has the reverse effect of getting people who actually might see a real, actual, honest to God, unidentified flying object to believe, as I've seen in many cases, because there are a lot of people out there, there are a lot of people out there who believe that all unidentified flying objects, every single one of them, no matter what it is a government black op project. That is, that just sounds like, dogma. That sounds like dogmatic thinking, doesn't it? Every single thing that's identified as a government black op. There were hosts on Oracle that believe that. I know for a fact. Because they used to say that shit. And it used to drive me crazy when I was doing my show there. But that's the perfect cover for this stuff. But anyway, they're rolling this thing through town on a tarp in broad daylight. They wanted people to see that. And again, as I've said, man, just get ready to start seeing UFOs and aliens real soon. I think they're going to start rolling this shit out. Whether it's real or whether it's promulgated, I don't know. But it just seems that a lot of, right now they're really having an onslaught of new archaeological discoveries, new scientific discoveries, new solar system and planetary discoveries. But is this happening because this is the Great Awakening coming to fruition, or is it coming as a result of a controlled release that the powers that be are controlling? It's hard to say. I see evidence of both. I don't know what's right or wrong on that one. I don't think there is a right or wrong. I see evidence of both. But again, more of those articles here concerning that. Listen to this. It just doesn't stop. Scientists say the Shroud of Turin was created by ultraviolet lasers. Now this is this is this is where you hit the Supocalypse button, right? It's aliens. This is rich. The exact origins of the Turin Shroud remain a great mystery, but scientists are now disputing the long-held belief that the religious artifact is a medieval forgery. Italian researchers at the National Agency for New Technologies, Energy, and Sustainable Economic Development say they believe the image was created by an ultraviolet flash of light. However, if that theory is true, now listen to this. If that theory is true, it remains a mystery as to exactly how that technology could have been implemented at the time of the Shroud's creation. While the technology is readily available in the present day, it was far beyond the means of anyone around the pre-20th century. Oh, my God. So they're just openly admitting now that the Shroud of Turin was created with some very high-tech technology. Come on, folks. They're going to be rolling out little green men real soon. They're pushing this stuff hard. They wouldn't have dared ran this story 10 years ago. They wouldn't have dared. Religious people would have been freaking the fuck out. But right now, it's okay to release this. See? So that's why I'm so torn. I don't know whether this is an actual awakening going on or whether this is a controlled awakening. With all the information I have, it's hard for me to not believe all this stuff is just controlled, and they're allowing information they've had restricted for many years. They're allowing us to know this now because they're trying to get a desired effect from the release of this information. And I got to be honest with you, that's really what I'm leaning towards. The Turin Shrine is said to be the burial cloth of Jesus, but has long been believed to be a fake. Created during medieval times, it is currently kept in a climate-controlled case in Turin Cathedral. Scientists said the Italian agency have reportedly spent years attempting to recreate the shroud's imagery. The results show a short and intense burst of UV directional radiation can color a linen cloth so as to reproduce many of the peculiar characteristics of the body image on the Shroud of Turin, the scientist said. When one talks about a flash of light being able to color a piece of linen in the same way as the shroud, discussion inevitably touches on things such as miracles. But as scientists were only concerned with the verifiable process, see, this is perfect, man. This is perfect. God, they are ramping this up. It's exciting, man. I mean, as much as this is bullshit, it's exciting. Because they are, dude, this is it. They're oh my goodness. They are getting ready to make a big merging of science and religion. And that's the New World Order right there, folks. That's it. But they're getting ready to do this. They're getting ready to bring in the one world religion. They're going to merge science and religion. And the way they're going to merge science and religion and get the one world religion is by the alien thing. And they're going to use, that's why Ancient Aliens has been on. Folks, there is literally stuff that I got laughed off the air for talking about on TV now. That I got laughed off the air talking about 4 or 5 years ago. And it's just accepted now. That does not happen unless they want it to happen. Understand? I mean, this is unbelievable. Because they're saying, oh, well, for years we thought the Shroud of Turin was fake. And all the religious people, were pissed because this is their great evidence of Jesus. And, it's been debunked. But now they're saying it was created with some technology that we can't explain. Bingo, you see? Because for the religious person, that justifies their belief. And for the science person, they're left with, this having to accept the fact that, yes, there were technologies beyond what most of us can probably imagine. Long before there was the rise of humanity's civilization. I mean, my God, you really think our pathetic asses are the best and the brightest the universe has to offer? I fucking hope not. Because maybe I will join the David Rockefeller eugenics kill team. If that's the case, maybe I will join the voluntary extinction program. Fuck. We got to hold out hope that we're not the best the universe has to offer, because we are, man. Oh, bully for the rest of the universe. Fuck. It's going to get ugly. What do you guys think about little Kim? Little Kim died this week, right? Yeah. I come back from the grave to get some more whiskey and porn. I come get it on a global reality with Charles Reeves. I come get my wiki and porn. Yeah, this fucker's been dead for how long? A couple of years? Remember back when I'm Bill Clinton, I did not have sex with that woman. But I went and had lunch with Kim Jong-il, and he gave me a hand jibber, and it was good. I enjoyed it. But Clinton goes and rescues those Asian reporters in Iran. And I remember covering that the day it happened. And immediately, as soon as it happened, saying that those pictures are a fake. They were CG. Clinton and Kim Jong-il CG next to each other. That motherfucker has been dead for years, just like Osama. They've had him on ice. They're waiting for a time when they could have a control rolled out. They're making big geopolitical moves right now. That's why they're pulling out of Iraq, to give open skies and an open passageway into Iran for Israel. Kim Jong-il kicks the bucket. They already got Osama kick the bucket. Chavez will be dead in the next couple of weeks. He's got cancer, and he ain't supposed to last very much longer. Well, that's just perfect for them, isn't it? They're going to have an end to Iran. They're going to have an end to Venezuela. They got that cocksucker Kim Jong-il out of North Korea. Wow. Boy, it just seems to be all just coincidentally lining up into place for the New World Order, doesn't it? Everything's just happening exactly the way it should for these guys. If you've been studying this as long as I have and looking at the plan, I mean, it just seems to be snapping right into place for them. Wow. I mean, no, I mean this has been planned for a long time. That's why you can't believe any of this shit they tell you in the news about politics or elections or wars. It's all stage theater, folks. At this point, we're living inside of one big Hollywood movie. It is. Reality's become it's a big movie. The problem is the deaths are real and the lives are real, and it's not really fake, but the lines have sort of blurred between fiction and reality now. And again, I can't help but think that's on purpose. They've got to blur reality and fiction so people don't know what's real and what's not. And because then, it's a lot easier to control people when you have them in that fashion. Let's see what else we have tonight. Future riot shields will suffocate protesters with low-frequency speakers. Boy, I love that. Well, you can't just wound them or you can't just take them. You got to suffocate them. And, of course, who's bringing us this wonderful technology? Raytheon. It's not the first crowd control tool to use sound waves, but Raytheon's patent for a new type of riot shield that produces low-frequency sound waves to disrupt the respiratory tract and hinder breathing sounds a little scary. Crowd control tools like the LRAD sound cannon emit bursts of loud and annoying sounds that can induce headaches and nausea. But Raytheon's non-lethal pressure shield creates a pulsed pressure wave that resonates the upper respiratory tract of a human, hindering breathing and eventually incapacitating the target. So this just suffocates you. Boy, this is just wonderful. Pain compliance. The patent points on that. The patent points out that the sound waves being generated are not actually that powerful. So while protesters might collapse from a lack of oxygen reaching their brains, their eardrums won't be damaged in the process. Right, but, these fucking sick bastards will crank, they'll figure out how to crank the fucking thing up so it ruptures your whole brain. And like Roman soldiers joining their shields to form an impenetrable wall, these new riot shields can actually be networked together to form a larger acoustical horn, vastly improving their range, power, and effectiveness. There's no word on what the long-term medical implications might be, of course. If you find yourself on the wrong side of these shields, but I imagine the unpleasant experience is not unlike being force choked from afar by Lord Vader. Yeah. Coming soon, the ubiquitous surveillance from Big Brother's Wayback Machine. This from Network World. As the price of digital storage drops and the technology to tap electronic communications improves, authoritarian governments will soon be able to perform retroactive surveillance. Retroactive surveillance. Boy, that's a wonderful term. What Orwellian cocksucker down at the Stanford Research Institute came up with that term? Retroactive surveillance. We're going to perform surveillance on you before you've actually committed a crime. Anyone within the borders, according to a Brookings Institute report. Nailed it. Yeah, I should have known. These regimes will store every phone call, instant message, email, social media interaction, text message, movements of people and vehicles, and public surveillance video, and mine it at their leisure. According to Recording Everything, Digital Storage as an Enabler of Authoritarian Government, written by John Villanasso, a senior at the Brookings Institute and a professor of electrical engineering. Wait, Recording Everything, Digital Storage as an Enabler of Authoritarian Government. That's a hell of a title for something that you're being a constituent of. I understand you title something that if you're against it, but when you're for something, wow, digital storage as an enabler of an authoritarian government. Well, we're going to show you how digital storage can be an enabler of an authoritarian government and how good it is and why we need this. This will enable shadowing people's movements and communications that took place before the individual became suspects. So pre-crime. Again, oh my God, there's a pre-crime story every other month now, isn't there? But again, I got to stress whenever I read this stuff, Do not let the fear sauce overtake you. Do not get dumped with a big chili con carne of fear. It's not what I'm here to do. Because, I mean, sure, man, if you want to succumb to the fear of these guys, that's very easy to do. Because every other week they're rolling out these stories. But again, you should not ever confuse concern with something or fear of something with concern for. You can be concerned about all this stuff without having to shit yourself in fear. It's just a ride, folks, like Bill Hicks said. Don't forget that. It will be possible to go back in time and scrutinize the demonstrator's phone conversations, automobile travels, and the people that he or she met in the months and years leading up to the arrest. So they're going to be able to pull your whole history and incriminate you on things you did way before you were ever in trouble with the law. That's just great. That's just wonderful. That's the land of the free and the home of the brave for you right there, folks. I mean, yeah. New research shows that the upper troposphere and lower stratosphere, which, by the way, is the exact areas where they happen to spray chemtrails at, work to transform elemental mercury into oxidized mercury, which can easily be deposited into aquatic ecosystems and ultimately enter the food chain. Right, but when you go up in that level of the atmosphere, the troposphere, and the stratosphere, and you spray chaff, this white filament powder stuff, it goes through that level of the atmosphere. We see all this kind of stuff sits up there that we don't have access to up in the upper atmosphere. Viruses, all kinds of nasty shit. And, diseases, viruses, everything. Mercury. And what happens is, when they go up, that's a common misconception, is yes, they do spray some actual chemicals, but a lot of what they're spraying up there is chaff. It's this microscopic filament powder stuff. And what happens with it is that it's a very effective thing to break through the blood-brain barrier. So they can go out and spray anthrax and Ebola until the cows come home over every fucking city in the world, folks, and you probably would get very little result from that. Because it just dissipates in the atmosphere and you wouldn't be able to. But see, when you create this, when you basically give access to humans things that are normally in the upper atmosphere we can't reach, by bringing it down to the ground level from the shaft, and then you breathe it in and it goes in through your lungs and into your bloodstream, you see, that's much more effective. The upper atmosphere is acting as a chemical reactor to make the mercury more able to be deposited in the ecosystem. I mean, this is just more and more evidence that between the oil spills and the Corexit stuff and the geoengineering, I mean, folks, I don't know how you can not think that they are trying to absolutely kill this planet and everything on it. It's really hard to deny that. They are doing things that intentionally harm this planet on a large scale. And, there's people have talked about, well, are they going to go to off-Earth worlds? Are they going to go jump through stargates and go to some other base and ride it out and then come back down here and set up shop again? I don't know. But all I know is from these nuclear power disasters to all this stuff, you just get the idea that they're trying to pollute this planet to the point to where it can't be used by somebody else, almost as if they're aware that somebody else does want to take this planet and use it for some other purposes other than what they're using it for. I hate to say that, and I hate to make it sound like, absolutely we're going to be invaded by aliens, or there is a threat from aliens or people that want to take our planet from us. But, folks, after almost 5 years on air and the millions of news stories that I've read, I got to tell you, there is a lot of proof that indicates that may very well be the case. Because people say, well, why would they do that? It'll fix their kids and their children and their future generations of people that are going to control the elite and control the world. Well, that would the only reason that that would be the case is that they have information they're not letting on to that somebody or something wants to use our oceans and our land and stuff for a purpose other than what we use it for, and they're trying to fucking sabotage it. I think it very well could be the case. IBM says mind reading is less than 5 years away for real from computer systems. Well, that's just great with AI systems. We're 5 years away from having our mind read by every computer we come across. Well, that's just wonderful. So excited about that, aren't you? The world is changing fast, maybe faster than we ever thought. And within 5 years, science fiction is going to turn into nonfiction. We'll be able to read each other's minds, forget all our passwords, and create all our own home's energy. These are just 3 of the 5 predictions IBM announced this morning as a part of their annual 5 and 5 prognostication program. The list is meant to promote long-term work being done under Big Blue's Smarter Planet initiative. See, I love how they don't tell you what Big Blue is. Big Blue is a fucking supercomputer. And why does a supercomputer have a Smart Planet initiative? I mean, that if you read that, you don't know what Big Blue is, it wouldn't strike you as odd. But why are they trying to make it sound like that's, Big Blue's apostrophe S, meaning ownership, as if, see, they don't want to tell you Big Blue's sentient, do they? Big Blue's Smarter Planet initiative, and the company says 5 and 5 already has a track record of success. In 2008, IBM says it suggested that within 5 years, customers would talk to the web and the web would respond. This time, the predictions are perhaps a bit more fanciful. Mind reading is no longer science fiction. You will be able to power your home with the energy you create yourself. Ah, they're going to tap into that, huh? They should have done that a long time ago. Bioetheric, everything's powered from bioetherical energy. But you know what? That also has to. There's a lot of implications to it, doesn't it? Because then you have to admit that that we have an energy source inside of us that produces this energy that we can tap into and use. And I would imagine that would be a problem for atheists and scientific community type people who don't believe that humans have a soul or anything else. Well, obviously we have something in there that's generating power. If IBM is saying, according to their supercomputers, in less than 5 years, you're going to be able to power your home off of your own bioetherical energy, I would say that there is something inside of us. And the transhumanists admit this. I've talked about this a million times on the show. The transhumanists, it drives them crazy because they can't figure out how to animate a replica of a human in the way that humans are animated. They can't put a soul in it. So we're in the future. The future is now. The future is here. And boy, oh boy, we're almost to 2012, and it's just going to continue to get more interesting, folks. I hope you're ready. I told you last year around this time, put your helmets on. 2011 is going to be rough business, but 2012, you ain't seen nothing yet. Again, my new documentary film, See Right Volume 2, the DVDs and Blu-rays are here. You need to get yourself a copy. You need to get yourself 5 copies. You need to get yourself a few of them. Buy some for gifts. Hand them out. The Blu-rays are fantastic. We got packages up there where you can get just the DVD or just the Blu-ray, or you can get both for a discounted price. You can get the research pack with a bonus DVD of it's a data DVD you put in your computer. You'll have clips and pictures and all kinds of stuff for you to go through and look at. We have another package that has the soundtrack CD with it. Just all kinds of stuff there. TheGlobalReality.com. But we got to get some support and donations in this week, folks, in a big way. I got to have a couple of $100 to mail out all these DVDs and stuff. I got to have some cash to buy gifts. I got to have cash to live and survive. Please make a donation. Use the donate button if you want. If you want to send a Christmas gift my way, that would be super duper too. You can use the donate button there. Use the chip and banner. And then next week is going to be our fundraising week. So we're going to need some big time support in here this week and next week, folks. And it's going to be up to you. We're going to have to pull through. We're getting close. We're here at the end of 2011. We're releasing a bombshell movie for one of the biggest bombs that's ever been dropped on the phony patriot movement and truth movement. I mean, it's here. They're in my hand. It's real now. But I need your help to get this movie out to people in a big way. Will you help me do it? Will you help me keep this thing alive? Will you help me keep fighting? I'm not going to give up if you don't give up. But I got to have your help. And I hope you'll stand beside me. And thank you to those people who've already stepped up to the plate and told me they are going to stand beside me. I appreciate you and I love you. We're going to take... All right, back here with you in the Global Reality. Right here on the Global Reality Radio Network. Excuse me. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. I hate when that happens. I cough right when you come back. But thanks so much for being with us here for another edition of the broadcast. I want to give you a quick update, too. I'm going to be moving the show. The show's going to be on, we'll start being on a regular schedule again for now. I start getting in hardcore filmmaking again, it'll probably change. But starting January 1st, the Global Reality is going to start. The show will start promptly every night at midnight. So midnight Central Standard Time. A lot of our listeners listen to Lee Rogers and listen to other shows and stuff. And really at midnight, there's not very many choices of anything worth a fuck. Poodlehead, Mossad Agent, or fucking Snorri. And personally, I think my show should be the show that people are listening to at midnight live. And so that's going to be my goal. That's going to be my new thing is, okay, this is the show. If you're going to listen to a show at midnight, this is the show you need to be listening to. So that's going to be the new goal that I'm going to be setting for January 1st, 2012. So there you go. TheGlobalReality.com is my website. We got to have some support in here this week, folks. Please donate if you can. And again, the Secret Volume 2 is on sale right now. DVDs and Blu-rays are here. Get your packages at theglobalreality.com underneath the documentary tab there underneath Secret Volume 2. And help us get this out and get this movie out. We've got to get this movie out to a lot of people, folks. It's got to go blitzkrieg with this. We've gone all in, myself and Scott, who's donated to help me get some of this stuff. The people who've supported me to get this film made have gone all in with it. So that in turn is what we've got to do to get the word out about the film itself. I'm going to try to make some promotional materials for it. Try to make a commercial spot that'll play. I do have a YouTube video up right now of the unboxing of it. If you want to see the what they look like, that's up on my YouTube channel right now. I just shot a quick video as soon as the DVDs got here today. So you can check that out as well. Emails. Love to have emails. I don't have any to read for you here on the show tonight, I don't think. Yeah, actually, I do have a couple I'd like to read. Oh, never mind. One of them. Yeah, actually, these are both kind of like private, not, just talking about people supporting us and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm not going to read those. I did get one from John. John said that John Doe in the chat room. Yeah, the electrolytic capacitors. I thought it may be that on that preamp. I'll open it up this weekend or something and see. I see what you're talking about. The electrolytic can be. I've had an amp do that before. I had a TV do that one time when they just go out. Synthesizers, old synthesizers do that too. But it's just the fact that again, I don't know. The fact that we're even talking about having to fix my little crappy $100 mic preamp I've had for 7 or 8 years, Then I see these Alex Jones videos and he's got a fucking Universal Audio tube preamp in his studio. How much those fucking things cost? $1,200. 12 and up for a tube preamp, dude. It's like, that's my thing, man. I'm a gearhead, Some people are gearhead on cars. I'm gearheads on I'm a gearhead on musical equipment and, computers and that kind of thing. It's like, dude, you're honestly going to sit there and try to tell people, that you're not getting funding from somewhere else. And you got a $5,000 Neumann mic and a $1,200 Universal Audio preamp. It's like, come on, dude. That alone is a giveaway for me. But yeah, I'll definitely look into that, John. But yeah, that's the whole point is, come on, it's a $100 preamp. I should be able to buy another one, but say la vie, that's how it goes. All right, let's go to the Kabbalion now. Chapter 7, the all. Are we got? Yeah, chapter 7, the all in all, I believe is where we are. Yeah, which would be page 28. How often have the majority of people heard repeated the statement that their deity, called by many names, was all in all? I have a song I wrote called All in All. That's crazy. I wrote that about 10 years ago, long before I ever read any of this. I forgot about that song. That's a good song. I forgot. I've written 100 songs, 150 songs over the years. And how little they have suspected the inner occult truth concealed by these carelessly uttered words. The commonly used expression is a survival of the ancients. And the ancient Hermetic maxim quoted above, while all is in the all, it is equally true that all is in all. To him who truly understands this truth hath come great knowledge. That's crazy, because that's the line in the song that I wrote, all in all is all you'll ever be. Long to be all of me, all in all is all we'll ever be. I didn't know any of this stuff. Wow, that's amazing. Because I didn't know about this when I wrote that song 10 or 11 years ago. I'm gonna have to go find those lyrics and because I have some versions of that song recorded somewhere I did 10 years ago. I doubt I'd ever let any of you hear it because, but it's unbelievable. I mean, I was expressing that statement exactly right there in a song 10 years ago and didn't even know anything about this. That's one of the amazing things of the human psyche to me, is that sometimes, you ever heard the phrase or the statement, learning is just remembering something again for the first time. It's actually so true, because sometimes we find that we have a knowledge of things that we've never learned. For instance, when I used to telling people about conspiracies and stuff like that, not really even conspiracies, just facts, truth. I used to tell my dad that cigarettes and alcohol and all this stuff were a part of population control. And that's how they called the population. Guys, I gotta be honest with you, I didn't have anything to back that up at that time. I don't know how I knew that. I never learned that. I never came across it. The internet was not around at that time when I had said that to my dad. Wasn't it? And 3 or 4 years ago, he had remembered that when I had said that to him, back when I was 18, 19. And a couple of years ago, I'm 35 now, he said, man, you were telling me all that shit was population reduction. You were telling me that shit 10, 15 years ago. And I was like, yeah, I was, wasn't I? And I said, Dad, the crazy thing about it is that I didn't have any knowledge of it. I just knew it was true. And then later to come to find out, you have data and research and things to back up the fact that those things are true. It's unbelievable. And there's been a lot of things that I have come across in my research, things that I've known longer than I had anything to back it up with. Like, for instance, on the day of 9/11, I knew instantly on the day of 9/11 that it was not what they were telling us it was. But every time I would try to say to somebody that day, this is not what they're telling you it is, they would misunderstand me. They would either misunderstand me, or they would just say, you're out of your goddamn mind. You're a fucking lunatic, crazy conspiracy theorist, and you need to shut the fuck up right now, because this is not the same as that, and you're fucking out of your goddamn mind. Shut up. But then, of course, now, when you have stuff to back that up, it's completely different. That's happened to me so many times. I don't know how we have that ability sometimes but I think it's absolutely true. I have never read what I just read to you folks, but I swear to you, I have a song I wrote 10 or 11 years ago that expresses that whole thing. I'll try to find those lyrics and read them to you guys on another show. That just blows my mind. And I think back to all those the times, when I used to talk about Well, for instance, I don't know why. I remember hearing at a very young age that I somehow had a connection to Freemasons. And I remember hearing about Freemasons, not that they were a secret society or any specific, just remember hearing about them at a very young age because I was born with a club foot. And I was born on 7/6/76, right? As Sirius was apexing, you numerologist, 7/6 of 1976. That's my birthday. You numerologists do the math there. And I was born with a club foot. Well, those things are very symbolic to somebody who's a Freemason. Well, my dad's best friend was a Dallas police officer, and he was he's a guy that started the mounted police in Dallas, and he was a Scotch Rite Freemason. And the day that I was born, and I got a great story I haven't told you guys about yet, but I'll tell you here. On the day I was born, this guy, he sponsored me. And I was born with a club foot, and that's where your foot's turned in, and it was, was basically going to make me cripple. And that was, my parents didn't have the money to, pay for medical bills and all this stuff. And he sponsored me through Scottish Rite, and I got all my medical, everything paid for until the time I was 18. And so I had corrective surgery when I was about 5 or 6, and my whole life growing up, even from like 7 or 8, I always knew there was some connection to aliens and Freemasons. And I don't know how, this is days long before the internet. This is back when we had, 3 channels of regular TV and like 20 channels of cable if we were lucky. That's if you had the deluxe package that had HBO, Skinamax, and Showtime. And sometimes, the movie channel. Remember those days? We had those fucking gigantic fucking click cable boxes. God, it was god awful, wasn't it? But I just always knew there was a connection to that. And when the internet came about, one of the first things I ever looked up was Freemasons and aliens. And I flipped. I just absolutely flipped. Because I was starting to find that there were things that I had inherently known all my life were connected together, and here was evidence. For the first time, I'm seeing evidence, and oh my God, there are other people out there in the world who've thought that same thing, and now here's this thing called the internet, and here's web pages and people talking about it. I mean, we take it for granted now, folks, but I mean, now this is our time. We still have this internet to use as a tool to do some good. And, that was, I think that was kind of that was maybe a year or two before 9/11 too. It was a couple of years. It was longer than that. It was a couple of years before 9/11. I know the internet was around longer than that, but regular folks really didn't get, at least where I live here in Dallas, regular folks really didn't get, full blown access to the internet till, till the late 90s. I used to go to the library all the time. It was probably 98, 90, 97, 98, 99, somewhere in there. And, I started finding all this research stuff. And I think that, I was going through a time in my life where I was really trying to figure out what I was going to do with my life. And right before 9/11, I really thought that I was really getting a good handle on that. Although everything that I would do, I was unhappy with any jobs that I would do, because any job I've always ever had, I've always been great at it. I've always been a manager or, upper management, or always had, but I was always terribly unhappy no matter what job I would do. And the only time it seemed like I was happy doing something was when I was doing something that was initiating my creativity. Whether it be music or whether it be, producing stuff. At that time, I was really just doing music. I really, but I was researching stuff too, and I was really into computers. And so I started working for a software company. It was right before 9/11. I mean, it was good. I was making fucking amazing cash. For somebody that didn't have a college degree, I mean, making $14-15 an hour in 2000, 2001. 14, 15, $16 an hour. That was, that was pretty fucking good for a guy like me, man. but still, there was always something. There was just this thing that was nagging at me. So my spare time, while I was working for the software company, I was always constantly reading, and I just right about that time, Strassman's DMT book had come out. Right about that time, I saw gotten that. I'd been reading that. I was reading a lot of Carlos Castaneda at the time, and a lot of Robert Anton Wilson. I was reading different, Eastern philosophies, really getting into Buddhism and stuff at that time. Because for that point in time, I considered myself an atheist, and I had this sort of a religious experience on the closest thing I could ever consider to be one on a mountaintop in Oklahoma. I just broken up with a girlfriend, and I was just really having a bad time, and something reached out of the sky and I just felt the presence that I wasn't alone. Something told me, and it was just amazing. So after that, I started researching more of these things, and I got, then of course 9/11 happens, and right after 9/11 happens, everything goes tits up. They ship my job over to India, and I'm just left back at square one again. Everything I'd done for the past 3 or 4 years of my life just didn't matter at that moment. And I was just lost. I didn't know what to do. So I started hanging out with some different friends, and not really working to do anything for a long time, and doing drugs and that kind of stuff. And I found myself in a position in about 2002. I found myself in a position where I didn't have anywhere else to go. I didn't have anywhere to live. I had used up all of my resources, and I found this. I found this, like, it was supposed to be like a meditation retreat. It was out in the middle of nowhere. And I went to this thing, and long story short, this thing was some kind of weird cult, man. It was nuts. I had to end up calling my mom, my stepdad to come out. My stepdad came out with guns, lock and load, ready to just fucking shoot somebody, because they told me they weren't going to let me leave. And I was freaked out by that. And I was like, no. They were like, you cannot leave. It was this old Indian woman, like dots, not feathers. But anyway, yeah, it was just, it was kind of a weird time for me. But getting back to what I was talking about here, and there was a story that I was going to relate, and I don't remember. It was a story I had never told before, and I can't remember what this story was now. I was going to tell it. Now I can't remember it, but I hate when it happens. But again, it's just one of those amazing things where I just was blown away by the fact that I understood this concept, and to talk about and written about this concept 10, 11 years ago when I never heard of this. And it just happened to me a multitude of times. It's happened to me to the point where I just can't think that it's a coincidence anymore. I mean, for whatever reason, man, my life has been one nonstop journey, good or bad, to get me to where I am now. I'm supposed to be here doing this. And I don't know what all that entails yet, folks, but all I can tell you is that, this is what I'm supposed to do. Everything in my life has gotten me to where I am now doing this. And that's why I'm going to keep doing it. That's just all there is to it. We have given you the Hermetic teaching regarding the mental nature of the universe. The truth that the universe is mental, held in the mind of the all, as the Kabbalion says. In the passage quoted above, all is in the all. But note also the co-related statement that it is equally true that the all is in the all. This apparently contradictory statement is reconcilable under the law of paradox. It is, moreover, an exact Hermetic statement of the relations existing between the all and its mental universe. We have seen how all is in the all. Now let us examine the other aspect of the subject. The Hermetic teachings are to the effect that the all is immanent in remaining within, inherent, abiding within its universe, and in every part, particle, unit, or combination within the universe itself. This statement is usually illustrated by the teachers by a reference to the principle of correspondence. The teacher instructs the student to form a mental image of something, a person, an idea, something having a mental form. The favorite example being that of an author or dramatist forming an idea of his characters, or a painter or sculptor forming an image of an ideal that he wishes to express in his art. Each case, the student will find that while the image has its existence and being solely within his own mind, yet he, the student, author, dramatist, painter, or sculptor, is, in a sense, immanent in and remaining within or abiding within the mental image also. In other words, the entire virtue, life, spirit of reality in the mental image is derived from the immanent mind of the thinker. And I read a book around this time I was talking about earlier, about 10 years ago. It was called The Self-Aware Universe, and it was very lengthy and kind of, the big wordy book, but it's out there if you can find it. It's a good read, The Self-Aware Universe. I can't remember who wrote it, but it put forward this idea that they're putting forward here, that anything in material reality had to have started out with a pure thought or energy. And it put forward this idea that, as this has, that the creator or whatever it may be, pure consciousness, can only express itself by creating vehicles in which to experience itself. And that's truly actually what we all are. We are all the manifestations of a great consciousness experiencing itself in every possible way there is to experience. And so that's not a big concept for me to grasp, because I think there's a lot of truth in that. Because here's the thing. Everything that exists had its start or its creation in something. And if you are, let's say that you decide that you want to build a chair. Okay, so you think about, you go, okay, I want to build a chair. So you think about this, you get a picture in your mind of what this chair looks like. You can do it right now. Close your eyes and think about building a chair. Think about, like, okay, we're going to build a chair. Now visualize in your mind what you want the chair that you're going to build to look like. You see it? You can visualize it. You can see it right there in your mind's eye. But where does that chair exist? Where in space-time does that chair exist right now? Nowhere. Or you could argue that, well, it exists in space-time. It doesn't exist in the material universe yet. Okay. So it just exists as pure thought, pure energy, pure thought form, but it's not material in the material universe, correct? Okay, so now you go to the hardware store, you buy all the parts, you get out the materials, you get out the tools you need, and you saw, cut, there you go, screw it together, put it in, do a little work. All right, 6 hours later, here you have a fucking chair. So there is your chair. It's done. It's in front of you. You visualize it in your mind's eye. You created it. It's now in front of you. But before you visualize, that chair did not exist. Now it's a tangible thing that you can touch and you can feel, but it's still an illusion. So is there really a difference between the chair that you visualize in your eye's mind and the chair that you see material in front of you? You would say yes, because you can materially touch this and see it, but you could still materially see the chair even though it hadn't been formed. But in order to experience that chair and to experience all the things that a chair does for you, like being able to sit in it, namely, number one, or stand up on it to get to something, you need to reach. You can't have the experience of standing on that chair or sitting in that chair until you have the material chair in front of you. You can imagine it in your head all day long, but that doesn't matter. So what we believe is that at the point at which the chair is material in front of us and can be used to sit in or stand on, at that point, that's when the chair becomes real. Now, wait a minute. It was just as real when you visualized it in your mind's eye, wasn't it? You saw it sitting there, didn't you? And so they trick us into believing that only the things that we can tangibly see and tangibly put our hands on have any use or even real. And I think that is one of the key elements of how they keep us and keep our minds in this quote unquote, for lack of a better term, matrix. It really is a matrix. And I think that's one of the key ways they keep it there. Consider this for a moment until the idea is grasped. Take a modern example. Let us say Othello, Iago, Hamlet, Lear, Richard III existed merely in the mind of Shakespeare. At the time of their conception or creation, and yet Shakespeare also existed within each of these characters, giving them their vitality, spirit, and action. Who is the spirit of the characters that we know as Micawber, Oliver Twist, Uriah Heep, etc.? It is Dickens. Is it Dickens, or have each of these characters a personal spirit independent of their creator? Have the Venus of Medici, the Sistine Madonna, the Apollo Belvedere spirits, do they have spirits and reality of their own, or do they represent the spiritual and mental power of their creators? The law of paradox explains that both propositions are true, viewed from the proper viewpoints. Micawber is both Micawber and yet Dickens, and again, while Micawber may be said to be Dickens, yet Dickens is not identical with Micawber. Man, like Micawber may explain, the spirit of my creator is inherent within me, and yet I am not he. How different this from the shocking half-truth so ferociously announced by certain members of the half-wise who fill the air with their raucous cries of, I am God. Imagine poor Micawber or the sneaky Uriah Heep crying, I am Dickens, or some of the lowly clods in one of Shakespeare's plays, grandiloquy announcing that I am Shakespeare. The all is in the earthworm, and yet the earthworm is far from being the all. What? Wait. Is that like the fucking the worm is the spice and the spice is the worm? That sounds like some Dune shit. Wasn't that what it was in Dune? I got my sister and her boyfriend got me Dune on Blu-ray for Christmas. And oh man, it just looked fantastic. I mean, it just, oh man. But yeah, I remember remember the big sandworm, the sandworm with the spice. The sandworm is the spice is the worm. And yet the earthworm is far from being the all. And still the wonder remains that through the earthworm exists merely as though the earthworm exists merely as a lowly thing created and having its being solely within the mind of the all, yet the all is immanent in the earthworm and in the particles that go to make up the earthworm. Can there be any greater mystery than this of the all and the all in all? The student will, of course, realize that the illustrations given above are necessarily imperfect and inadequate, for they represent the creation of mental images in finite minds, while the universe is a creation of infinite mind, and the difference between the two poles separates them. And yet it is merely a matter of degree. The same principle is in operation. The principle of correspondence manifests in each. As above, so below. As above, as below, so above. Yeah, as in the macrocosm, so in the microcosm. And in the degree that man realizes the existence of the indwelling spirit immanent within his being, so will he rise in the spiritual scale of life. This is what spiritual development means: the recognition, realization, and manifestation of spirit within us. Try to remember this last definition, that of spiritual development. It contains the truth of true religion. There are many planes of being, many subplanes of life, many degrees of existence in the universe, and all depend upon the advancement of beings in the scale, of which scale the lowest point is the grossest matter, the highest being separated only by the thinnest division from the spirit of the all. And upward and onward along this scale of life, everything is moving. All are on the path, whose end is the all. All progress is a returning home. All is upward and onward. In spite of all seemingly contradictory appearances, Such is the message of the illumined. The Hermetic teachings concerning the process of the mental creation of the universe are that at the beginning of the creative cycle, the all in its aspects of being projects its will towards its aspect of becoming, and the process of creation begins. It is taught that the process consists of the lowering of vibration until a very low degree of vibratory energy is reached, at which point the grossest possible form of matter is manifested. This process is called the stage of involution, in which the all becomes involved or wrapped up in its creation. This process is believed by the Hermeticists to have a correspondence to the mental process of an artist, writer, inventor, I would say filmmaker in my case, who becomes so wrapped up in his mental creation as to almost forget his own existence, and who for the time being almost lives in his creation. Yeah, I can relate to that. Fuck. I'd like to get laid this decade. Can I have something happen to me that didn't happen to me last decade? I'd like to get laid this decade. Jesus. If instead of wrapped, we use the word wrapped, R-A-P-T, perhaps we will give a better idea of what is meant. This involuntary stage of creation is sometimes called the outpouring of divine energy. Just as the evolutionary state is called the indrawing, the extreme pole of the creative process is considered to be the furthest removed from the all. While the beginning of the evolutionary stage is regarded as the beginning of the return swing of the pendulum of rhythm, a coming home idea being held in all of the Hermetic teachings. The teachings are that during the outpouring, the vibrations become lower and lower until finally the urge ceases and the return swing begins. But there is this difference, that while the outpouring, the creative forces manifest compactly and as a whole, yet from the beginning of the evolutionary or indrawing stage, there is manifested the law of individualization. That is, the tendency to separate into units of force, so that finally that which left the all is unindividualized energy and returns to its source as countless highly developed units of life, having risen higher and higher in the scales by means of physical, mental, and spiritual evolution. The ancient Hermeticists used the word meditation in describing the process of the mental creation of the universe in the mind of the all. The word contemplation also being frequently employed, but the idea intended seems to be that of the employment of the divine attention. Attention is a word derived from the Latin root meaning to reach out, to stretch out. And so the act of attention is really a mental reaching out extension of mental energy. So that the underlying idea is readily understood when we examine into the real meaning of attention. The Hermetic teachings regarding the process of evolution are that the all, having meditated upon the beginning of the creation, and having thus established the material foundations of the universe, having thought it into existence, then gradually awakens or rouses from its meditation, and in doing so starts into manifestation the process of evolution. This takes place on the material, mental, and spiritual planes successively and in order. So, material, mental, and then spiritual. Thus, the upward movement begins, and all begins to move spiritward. Matter becomes less gross. The units spring into being. The combinations begin to form. Life appears and manifests in higher and higher forms, and mind becomes more and more in evidence. The vibrations constantly become higher. In short, the entire process of evolution in all of its phases begins and proceeds according to the established laws of the indrawing process. All of this occupies eons upon eons of man's time, each eon containing countless millions of years. But yet, the illumined inform us that the entire creation, including involution and evolution of a universe, is but as the twinkle of an eye to the all. At the end of countless cycles of eons of time, the all withdraws its attention, its contemplation, and meditation of the universe. For the great work is finished, and all is withdrawn to the all from which it emerged. But mystery of mysteries, the spirit of each soul is not annihilated. but is infinitely expanded. The created and the creator are merged. Such is the report of the illumined. The above illustration of the meditation and subsequent awakening from meditation of the all is, of course, but an attempt of the teachers to describe the infinite process by a finite example. And yet, as below, so above, the difference is merely in degree. And just as the all arouses itself from the meditation upon the universe, so does man in time cease from manifesting upon the material plane and withdraws himself more and more into the indwelling spirit, which is indeed the divine ego. There is one more matter of which we desire to speak, and that comes very near to an invasion of the metaphysical field of speculation. Although our purpose is merely to show the futility of such speculation, we allude to the question which inevitably comes to the mind of all thinkers who have ventured to seek the truth. Why does the all create universes? The question may be asked in different forms, but the above is the gist of the inquiry. Men have striven hard to answer this question, but still there is no answer worthy of the name. Some have imagined that the all had something to gain by it, but this is absurd. For what could the all gain it did not already possess? Others have sought the answer in the idea that the all wished for something to love, and others that it created for pleasure or amusement, or because it was lonely, or to manifest its power. All puerile explanations and ideas belonging to a childish period of thought. Others have sought to explain the mystery by assuming that the all found itself compelled to create by reason of its own internal nature, its creative instinct. This idea is in advance of the others, but its weak point lies in the idea of the all being compelled by anything internal or external. If it is internal in nature or creative instinct compelled it to do anything, then the internal nature or creative instinct would be the absolute instead of the all. So accordingly, that part of the proposition falls. And yet the all does create and manifest and seems to find some kind of satisfaction in so doing. And it is difficult to escape the conclusion that in some infinite degree, it must have what would correspond to an inner nature or creative instinct in man, with correspondingly infinite desire and will. It could not act unless it willed to act, and it would not will to act unless it desired to act, and it would not desire to act unless it obtained some satisfaction thereby. And all of these things would belong to an inner nature and might be postulated as existing according to the law of correspondence. But still we prefer to think of the all as acting entirely free from any influence, internal as well as external. That is the problem which lies at the root of difficulty, and the difficulty that lies at the root of the problem. Strictly speaking, there cannot be said to be any reason whatsoever for the all to act, for a reason implies a cause, and the all is above cause and effect, except when it wills to become a cause, at which time the principle is set into motion. So you see, the matter is unthinkable, just as the all is unknowable. Just as we say the all merely is, so we are compelled to say that all acts because it acts. At the last, the all is all reason in itself, all law in itself, all action in itself. And it may be said truthfully that the all is its own reason, its own law, its own act, or still further, that the all, its reason, its act, its law are one, all being names for the same thing. In the opinion of those who are giving you these present lessons, the answer is locked up in inner self of the all, along with its secrets of being. The law of correspondence, in our opinion, reaches only to that aspect of the all, which may be spoken of as the aspect of becoming. Back of that aspect is the aspect of being, in which all laws are lost in law. All principles merge into principle, and the all principle and being are identical, one and the same. Therefore, metaphysical speculation on this point is futile. We go into the matter here merely to show that we recognize the question and also the absurdity of the ordinary answers of metaphysics and theology. In conclusion, it may be of interest to our students to learn that while some of the ancient and modern Hermetic teachings, or teachers rather, have rather inclined in the direction of applying the principle of correspondence to the question, with the result of the inner nature conclusion, still the legends have it that Hermes the Great, when asked this question by his advanced students, answered them by pressing his lips tightly together and saying not a word, indicating that there was no answer. But then he may have intended to apply the axiom of his philosophy that the lips of wisdom are closed, except to the ears of understanding, believing that even his advanced students did not possess the understanding which entitled them to the teaching. At any rate, if Hermes possessed the secret, he failed to impart it. And so far as the world is concerned, the lips of Hermes are closed regarding it. And where the great Hermes hesitated to speak, what mortal may dare to teach? But remember that whatever be the answer to this problem, if indeed there be an answer, the truth remains that while all is in the all, it is equally true that the all is in all. The teaching on this point is emphatic, and we may add the concluding words of the quotation. To him who truly understands this truth, hath can come great knowledge. So that's the end of chapter 7 there. At the end of chapter 32, chapter 8 will be our next one we pick up with next time. The Planes of Correspondence, that'll be on page 33. And, boy, we took it into Moonbat territory tonight. I wanted to finish that, though, and I'm glad I did. That was absolutely amazing stuff. Really resonated with me. I'm going to have to go back and read that again and get those song lyrics. And that just blows my mind. You know, again, I think it's one of those little indicators, man, you know. That's just why, that's what keeps me going every day. I mean, very rarely in life do you get to find the thing that you're meant to do. And I've just seen verification after verification over the past 4 years that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And I am so grateful for everything that I get an opportunity to do here with this show and with the films and the radio network. And I can't wait to do even more and go even bigger in 2012. I'm ready. Let's do this. TheGlobalReality.com is on my website. Please go there and get a copy of the Blu-ray or DVD of The Secret Right Volume 2. Also, go to my website. Use the donate button if you want to help us out, if you want to make a donation for a Christmas gift, whatever you want to do. Please help us out this week and next week. Please help us get in what we need. And, you know, I've got the ammunition here, folks. These movies, this is ammunition against the bad guys. Please help me get this ammunition out. Please support us so I can get this out. And we've come too far now to just be stopped right here at the goal line. My name's Josh Reeves. I love each and every one of you, and we'll see you next time. You guys have a great one. Take care.